Hey, shalom, Sister Kate here. Early in the morning, traveling. I don't have my assistant anymore, but I do have my security. He's somewhere back there in the back. I'm heading back to Shofar, and I have a little time. Let's see if I can. You're not even hardly going to be able to see me. Let's see. That's not going to work. Maybe if I do that. I'm probably not going to be able to read too many of the comments because I got to pay attention to what I'm doing. Hey, good morning. It's going to be a weird picture too because, hey, there you are, Sister Harriet. Very good to see you. I'll probably be moving the camera around because obviously we're in a vehicle and I don't have my regular setup. So the video, good morning, good morning, good morning. The video is going to be about, well, it can be about anything. You guys can ask questions, and if I read it, then then I can respond to it. Let me see. We're going to do all your podcasts on the road. Well, I do have time. You know what I mean? Normally in my daily life, I've got a bunch of chores that keep me really busy. And I apologize if it's a little noisy. Let me see if I might have a window down or up or whatever. I didn't really even get to check the news till last night before I went to sleep. And I did not know that Italy was having trouble with the virus. And 4 European countries all got their first case. Switzerland was one. Croatia, maybe, was another one. Spain. Is that right? Spain, maybe? But it's becoming apparent that this thing can pass very easily. It's spreading around. I sent a question on Instagram, and maybe I'll just wait there for your response. Yeah, because I'm probably not going to get to Instagram for 12 more hours, Harriet. I'm just not going to. This drive is a really long one. I'm going to be driving most of the day. But this virus looks like it's easily transmissible. And so that is how it's becoming a pandemic, something that's, spreading to many different countries. And somebody asked me yesterday on the live stream if I could do a video on pandemic preparedness. And I thought about that, and I think that's a good topic, and I think there are already videos out there. You've got to see big picture here. Good morning. Good morning. Shalom. You have to see big picture here. You can't just think locally, but eventually it will be local because it's going to come to where you are. Students are in self-quarantine in the Scottish Highlands. There was a whole group of Irish students who went to northern Italy to go skiing, and they were in the area where those villagers are now quarantined. And so I think I heard or read on the radio last night the entire school is like quarantining itself too. All the students are staying home. The school's not even open, and that's kind of where we're at. Good morning, NWA Prepper. Are there any plans in your area, Northwest Arkansas Prepper, that you know of that are talking about quarantining in large numbers? Hey, Sheepdog Patriot, good to see you. Because I think we could be looking at that. Other countries are having to do that. We knew China did it with their cities, but Italy has shut down 12 villages. And like that person, I didn't get to read your name because, I can't, let's see, Todd Ferguson. There are whole groups of students that are self-quarantining because they're coming from areas where there are live cases. And I was just, my son texted me. Now he is kind of tied in his community. He's in a small area. He's a volunteer firefighter. So he's going to get the, first responder information. And he's also a town official. And their town is looking at, the viability of shutting the entire town down and quarantining the whole town if necessary. And then, where was it? It might have been Italy. One of the news reports I was watching showed where there is a roadblock. Might even have been Wales. I'm sorry my memory on those details aren't good. But, I mean, that place, that city, was starting to shut down traffic. Only people with certain permits were being allowed through, and they had the cones up and two police officers or officials manning the entrance that they covered in the news. But I'm sure their town had other entrances, other main roads coming in and out that also had cones up and people stopping people and turning people away if you didn't belong there. Can you guys hear me okay? I feel like there's a lot of road noise behind me. Just local prepper groups, but nothing else that I've heard of. I mean, we're kind of centrally located. We're not on a coast, and we're not really near a big international airport or a thank you, Harriet, or a port, because those cruise ships are starting to become sort of an issue. Besides the Diamond Princess one, there were two others that were in the news. Good. Okay, thank you, you guys. So if you're on a coast, if you're near a port, if you're near a Lawson Chase, you said something on yesterday's live stream that I wanted to kind of follow up on, but we were really, really rushed. I have about, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half where I'm not going to have to, do any turning or anything like that. So, Oki, do you mind talking a little bit more about what you've been hearing among the EM people? I'm assuming that's emergency management people, about the hoarding and the quarantine. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? If you cross the health line in Italy, you are given 3 months jail fine. I mean, see, that's coming. That on a bigger scale is coming. And there is legal health reasons to get into, is it criminal for you to act in a certain way? If you know you've been exposed, is it now going to be criminal for you to walk down the street, possibly infecting a bunch of other people? And as someone who was in emergency services, at least for a short while, this stuff becomes important. The public health becomes important when you've got something like this virus or Ebola or HIV or something. Good morning, Biddy Boo. For once, I'm up early. Anyway, Oki, do you mind talking about what you heard? Okay, be safe. It's good to see you. Al. And has anybody else heard anything from their town, from their news? I know Brother Tim up there in the Seattle area was saying they're hearing absolutely nothing, and they have 750 cases of people who are being watched and are supposed to be self-quarantining. Some of the smaller county EMs put out public statements warning of shortages and quarantines about 3 weeks ago. Okay. Well, that kind of means your EM guys are on the ball. Oh, that's the other thing. That's the reason. Thank you. That's the reason I was bringing up my son. So he went shopping recently with his family. He usually does that on the weekend because he works. And they went to the, next larger city in their area, which has more restaurants and, like a Walmart and so on. And every single bottle of gallon bleach in his Walmart was gone. They had sold out completely. He sent me a picture of the empty shelf. So they went to the Ace Hardware, in that city, and all the bleach at the Ace Hardware in the gallon size jugs were also sold out. None on the shelves. And he said, he asked the person at Walmart, is this kind of a typical thing? Do you guys often sell out of all your bleach? And that person said yes. But my son said in his estimation, that person didn't really seem to know what was going on. So I found that really interesting because where he lives is pretty remote too. He's not near, any big cities, not near an airport. Matthew said his Walmart had plenty of bleach. So I'm just wondering what happened there. Did his, local, maybe the city emergency management decide they were just going to buy all the bleach in case they, had to disinfect public buildings? Could be a church. Someone said, like a Mormon church in the area could have decided they wanted that bleach. I suppose we had a huge pool. Matthew says people where he is are behind the curve. Bidaboo says she has not heard of that in her area. Local Dollar Tree was wiped out. Atwoods had over a pallet. Atwoods was prepared. The Dollar General was out of bleach. Won't go to WM Walmart until tomorrow. Spoke with the local paramedics. They don't have any plans in place up here. USP Europe and Society General. Hang on. I've stopped all staff travel. See, it is going to affect us. The more people who get infected worldwide, the more their governments, local, city and then county and then, village and town are going to have to start doing things. Like saying we're not going to have a parade, we're not going to have a town block party, we're not going to have the theater open, because when the Spanish flu was running rampant, if a city tried to do those things and people went to them, everybody got sick at those events and many people died. Because with the Spanish flu, you could die 12 hours after you contracted it. It hit some people really, really hard. And so the smart towns and cities just completely cut off all travel and quarantined the whole town. And those who refused to do that and said, no, we're going to act like it's normal, we're going to whatever, it put their citizens at risk, and people got sick and died at those public events. And so that's why the transmissibility of this thing is just really a key element. It's a threat. It's a threat to public health. If you hear about it in your town and somebody, let's say you're having a soccer game. Soccer is very popular in many parts of the world, and you get very large crowds of people showing up. And if just one person is there and is breathing that around, they're really going to infect a lot of other people. So there are going to be things like your local theater closing. You're absolutely right, says Lady Liberty. Folks are definitely going to have to be careful. Okay, and someone else is on their way back. Houseman in the woods. I saw the CDC pandemic. We will see towns shutting their borders. We absolutely will, and you have to. You absolutely. That town who shuts its borders is not being weird. That is not a strange course of action to take when you have a pandemic. It's actually vital, and it's part of your survival. So let's look at what you might need to prep for, right? Yeah, it's a smart move. And there will be people who will say, shutting your town down, that's being paranoid, that's being whatever. It is not. It is a very smart health move. It is what is expected when your medical public health people are given that responsibility to save their town, to save their citizens. It is the thing you do. So let's look at what you're going to need to be prepping for. And I know you've probably heard this before. You've probably already watched videos where people say, like, you're going to want up to 3 months worth of supplies, and you may have to just stay in your house, because if it's aerosolized and you know, some of the reports, the health reports coming out are saying that they think it might be, then even walking outside in a public park, like I'm going to take my dog for a walk, I can do that. I should, you know, I won't see anybody. I should be safe. If it can be passed just in the air, even that will not be safe. You're going to have to stay in your house for as long as the virus is live and in your area. And they say 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is not really long enough for it to have hit everybody who's going to get it and to work its way, you know, whatever course, you know, they get it, they get better. Some people it takes longer. So you're going to want to give yourself a buffer on either side too. So for your area, from the first case, let's say you're in a little town, you're in a town of 500, and somebody's, I don't know, cousin is a mailman or something, and he ends up getting it, and he self-quarantines. You know, he goes to his house and he says, yeah, I don't want to spread it to everybody else. He self-quarantines. Yeah, he may be in there 2 to 3 weeks, but who did he come in contact with before he figured out he was sick? And how many people are there of those? And how long before they know they're sick? Because you can have you can be sick, you can be a carrier for like 2 weeks before your symptoms come out. So then that person has to quarantine from the moment they know they're sick, or from the moment they find out that mailman has it, and oh my goodness, I saw him yesterday, now I need to self-quarantine. So we're talking, for you to be safe, could be 3 months. Hey, well, start living. Yeah, I had to get on the road. I'm leaving your huge, huge state today, and it's going to take me all day to do it. So, got to go feed the animals? Okay. Well, I'll probably be here for another hour. What do you guys think you're going to need to be able to stay in your house for 3 months? Given that the water is still running and you can still use your toilet and you still have electricity, what are the kind of things you're going to need? Hi, Wheat Tree Bonsai. Airborne for a meter or so around a sick person. Virus can live on a hard surface for 9 days. So what kind of thing? I mean, right off the bat, the thing that I'm thinking of that I would need is food for my dogs. If I don't want to go into town, what am I going to feed my dogs? And originally, our plan for this certain occasion is, you know, we didn't want to buy 3 months worth of dog food for 2 huge dogs, because that's, you know, probably, oh God, I can't even, 20 plus bags at least. So then we have to think of alternative things, and what goes through my mind there is Rose of Sharon Homestead. She's now called Sustainable Stewards Homestead. She mixes up everything she feeds to her animals. So if you're a prepper, you probably have buckets of rice, wheat, beans, corn put up. You can make a mash for your dogs. You can, you know, heat up some, make some hot water, pour it over some corn and make a mash. Or you can, if you bought oatmeal, you can make them oatmeal. They don't necessarily have to have the high protein, pedigree, organic chicken and rice specialty feed, especially when it's a pandemic and you yourself have to worry about your own health and what you're eating. Your animals do not have to have something super, super special. You could also make loaves of bread out of your wheat with your, and you're supposed to have a grinder. Grind your wheat, make some loaves of bread, throw in an egg or two. They can live off that, you know. Now, we were going to do rabbits. We were going to have rabbits to feed our dogs, and we weren't, because we're Torah observant. We cannot touch the carcass of a dead rabbit. So we were not even going to butcher the rabbits and feed it to them. We were going to let the dogs, chase the rabbit down and get it. But that has not worked out yet, because we haven't really focused a lot of time and effort on doing that thing. So for us, the way we can feed these guys is kind of what I was talking about. We just break out the oats or the wheat or something and make a bread. But we do have chickens that lay eggs and ducks that lay eggs. So what we can do is just chop up that bread and then put some eggs in it. That's plenty of protein. And then the dog should be fine. So that is our plan. But if you haven't thought about this yet, now is the time to take care of that. You could, I can go to extremes if we need to. You can just go buy the cheapest broth, canned broth. You can buy the cheapest bread. It can go stale. Your dog's bread does not have to be fresh. They'll probably even eat moldy bread. They're dogs. Or cats, the cheapest bulk quantity stuff you can get for your animals, and get that stored up somewhere. Now, for your own food, a pastor and I have plenty of food. There is no doubt in my mind. We're covered. I'm not even going to talk about food, because he's been talking about food for 7 to 10 years, saying you need to get it put up. So, and we're good to go. Another thing that we do buy in town, let me think about this, lamp oil, gasoline for the cars, and we do have a small gasoline storage setup. But if we're quarantining at home, we're not going to need to drive anywhere anyway. We have plenty of soap. Do you have plenty of soap? Bug spray. That's something that the pastor winds up needing sometimes, is that wasp spray. And chicken feed, stuff like that. But if this thing gets really wacky, I'm just going to let my chickens free range. And they do that now, but I won't be able to supplement with, a big bag of corn or mixed grain or something. They'll just have to sift through. We have enough property, they can find enough food to make it through. And then I'm trying to think, we're pretty squared away preparedness wise. We have first aid stuff. Dairy will be something that if you don't have it stored up, you're gonna probably want. And I actually recommend the Parmalat dairy stuff. They sell it at Walmart. It's in a box on the shelf, and it is a milk that is shelf stable, and I think it tastes pretty good. And it comes in bigger, you can get the canned milk, you can get evaporated milk and stuff like that, but the Parmalat is ready to drink the way it is, and it's not going to taste exactly like what you're used to, but I think it's pretty good. And we have the goats, and one of my goats is going to kid soon, so I can milk that goat. Butter, yeah, we may have to do without butter. I can make butter from the goat milk, but I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. And you can freeze butter. You can can butter. I don't have any canned butter, but you can do those things. And now is the time to do it. Get your first aid supplies. You're going to want to get stuff to deal with a virus or a flu, whether it comes to your town and people get it or not, just because. The regular flu is still around. All right, I'll try to read some of your comments. I grab a few boxes of milk when I go into town. Smart. Out here, the don't seem too concerned about the utilities, thanks to hydro something power. Our local rural water provider is stocking supplies so they can quarantine at work. That's thoughtful too, really, because those utility guys are really important. Soap, bleach, laundry detergent, for those not septic, may need to think about. Yeah, you may want to think about also, just in case the water situation isn't completely squared away, or you're in a more developed area where you have to have septic and all that. If your city's water and septic stuff can't work, you might want to think about getting a 5-gallon bucket, a porta potty lid. You know, the Walmart has them. Not porta potty lid, but you know what I mean, like a camping lid, toilet lid for the 5-gallon bucket. Cabela's has them too. And some peat moss, because peat moss really is a good medium if you have to do a composting toilet system. It kills germs, it kills smells. It's really quite effective. Yeah, Lugaboo, exactly, that's the top. You might want to just get that just in case. It's never a bad idea to have an alternate, personal sanitation system ready, because doing that kind of thing into a bag and then having to dispose of that, because I've heard some people do that, they just use a large black trash bag and then they go to the bathroom in there. I mean, that's really kind of funky. It's squishy, it's going to be hard to deal with, and if you break it, you have an awful mess. Whereas with a bucket and an absorbable media like peat moss, it is very absorbent. That whole situation is a lot easier to deal with, and you can make a human manure composting pile, say, in your backyard, if you have to, and it will break down over time, and you can kind of keep it contained out there. Also, if you are on Brother Chris's channel, or if you do a little research, urinating, the urine has a lot of nitrogen. It's very good for your garden. So you could dispose of that. You have to water it down, but you could dispose of that, say, in a certain part of your yard, or put it on your garden bed. And it's not carrying bacteria and stuff like feces does. That'll make you sick. So you want to at least think about that. Toothpaste. We usually have a lot of toothpaste too, but if you don't, and you've got to stay home for 3 months, you do not want to start getting like tooth infections and gum infections and all that. Nail clippers. I mean, I know it may not be a big deal to everybody, but when I've gone camping and stuff and I get a thing going wrong with my fingernails, I really, really wish I had a fingernail clipper with me. Tweezers, things like that. Because you're going to have to stay home for 3 months. So another thing you're going to want to think about is, what are you going to do while you're home? Because just sitting around being bored or getting drunk for 3 months is it's not a healthy way to deal with extra time. Games, books, projects. Do you love to work on your cars? It would be a perfect time to do all your maintenance. Do you want to remodel something in your house and you just haven't time? Perfect time when you have to stay there. Paint your rooms, build something. If you're the kind of person who likes to do woodworking, make a shelf or a desk or something like that. And here's another issue I was thinking about, because some people who are self-quarantining, I was watching BBC on this last night. Their friends and neighbors are dropping food off to them. They're leaving food for them in bags. That should only go one direction. If someone's dropping food off to you like that, as someone posted here, shalom, you guys, I'm not going to be able to, nail brushes for the hand washing, good suggestion. I'm not going to be able to look at all your comments because I am on the road. And I thought I'd be doing this for an hour, but I'm actually in a big city now, so we'll see. We'll see if I may have to put you down for a minute so I can pay attention to what's happening in front of me. But if someone's dropping off food for you, you cannot then pick up the bag, take the food out, and put the bag back out if you're infected, because the person who picked it up right after you set it out there could get the virus from your hands. You know, you touched the bag and now the virus is on the bag. So it should be a one-way thing. If they're going to drop off food, it should be in, you know, like a Walmart throwaway bag, so that once you've received it, you don't give that bag back. You keep it and dispose of it yourself, so there's no transmission that way. Anyway, activities, especially if you have little kids, you know, they're going to get bored and they're going to want to expend some energy. So think about activities inside that they can do that'll help them do that. If you have stairs, you can have them run up and down the stairs. If you have a house where you can walk in a circle while you're in the house, you know, go through the kitchen and then the living room and back through the pantry room and then through the kitchen, have them run laps. You know, you might want to do a little fitness exercisey, workouty thing while you're confined as well, because if you just sit around, your muscles are you're gonna lose muscle tone. Colloidal silver kills it, ? That I don't know. I'm not a colloidal silver proponent, and I just haven't done enough actual scientific research into colloidal silver. It's been a lot of anecdotal pseudoscience behind it. I know supposedly silver is not a media where bacteria grows very well. And somebody else said that colloidal silver also kills viruses. I haven't done any research on that, so I don't know. But the last thing I heard about colloidal silver was it kills bacteria, but not viruses. So the thing about the viruses is vaccines are like the only way our medical system knows how to deal. Okay, I gotta merge. Fine. Let me get over. Hang on. And if anybody here is like a nurse or a paramedic or a doctor, you can chime in, because I was an EMT, so I have a very big level medical experience. Plus, I do a lot of research. Look at who's about to fall asleep behind me. And when I say I haven't researched it enough, I'm talking about actual medical doctors making reports with results that came from a controlled situation where they had people with bacterial infections, gave them all colloidal silver, and then tested to see, you know, who healed from that and how effective that was compared to some other known antibacterial medication, right? That's what I mean by I don't know. I mean, there's lots of people who swear they took care of their ear infection or their throat infection or whatever, but that's not really scientific. You've got to have comparisons, and you've got to have a control where the person who has the bacterial infection is also not treating it with anything, and did they heal from it too? So you can kind of narrow down that it was that one particular treatment that cured them. So you guys, you're welcome to back it up. Like if you know for a fact it's a virus killer. That dog is so pretty. Yeah, he's a pretty good looking dog, but he's a very stubborn, and he put his foot through my daughter's painting, so I'm not happy with him on our trip down. All right, hysteria mitigation is very important. People were hoarding soaps, shampoos, toilet paper, and cleaning supplies in Dollar Tree. Oh, I didn't get it to finish reading that. In Dollar Tree while we were there yesterday. Well, I wouldn't actually call it hoarding, Mike, because right now everybody has the same opportunity, and everyone has had the same opportunity to prepare for things, to go out and get supplies. And the demand for these things is not going to go down as the virus gets worse and spreads more. The demand for these things is going to quicken, because it's the fringe people, fringies like me and my husband, who already have been prepping for this and don't need to run in there and buy every roll of toilet paper that Dollar Tree has. But as more people get sick and more people have to quarantine, more people are going to need those things, and with less people at work, it's going to get harder to find those things. So it's kind of expected, really, in my mind, that people are starting to do things like go buy all the bleach at the Dollar Tree or all the toilet paper there. I don't think it's going to get better, it's going to get worse. Okay. Understand you will see the ugly side of humanity. How about the antiviral herbs and plants? I think the antiviral herbs and plants have a certain amount of merit. Like right now, I thought I had a sinus infection. I may not have had, I didn't have a full-blown one, but I was feeling pretty bad, and I was running a low-grade fever, and I had a lot of mucus that was kind of yellowy green coming out. And what I normally do in those circumstances, because I don't want to go get on an antibiotic if I can help it. I don't really like the side effects, how it, kills all the bacteria in your gut and stuff. So what I did was use eucalyptus oil, which is a menthol thing, just like peppermint or spearmint or so on. And I use the eucalyptus oil at night to clear my sinus, because one thing my doctor said, the last sinus infection I had was a sign of that is that one or side of your nose. Hang on, I gotta concentrate here. The sun is right in my eye and I can't read the sign. Is that one side of your nose is completely stopped up. And so your nose draining is actually a good thing if you think you have a sinus infection. It's something like eucalyptus oil, peppermint oil, spearmint oil, cough drops. Cough drops have menthol. Vicks Vapor Rub have menthol. Helps your nasal passages and stuff drain. So I used eucalyptus oil and then some tea tree oil, and I actually put a little tea tree oil in each one of my nostrils, a couple times a day, in case the bacteria, because it is bacteria in your sinuses when you have a sinus infection. And I try to breathe in, so hopefully I'm pulling it up to get it closer to my sinuses, and it seems to help. I also don't drink milk. If you have a virus like the flu or the coronavirus, one of the side effects that's really serious is the swelling in your lungs. The virus is drawing your immune system to its location. And when your immune system is trying to fight something in your lungs, there's a lot of fluid in there. And so that's where the bacteria starts to grow, and that's how you get pneumonia. Oregano, basil, garlic. He's talking about things good for you. Fruit and veggies. Drinking lots of fluids. Just water or juice, orange juice, helps your cells get rid of waste products. So while your body's fighting the infection, there are, dead cells that give off, antioxidants or oxidants and things like that. And water is used by your cells to get rid of those waste products. So any of those, kombucha or pineapple juice or any of those things, and lots of water and tea. Raspberry leaf tea, blackberry root tea. Set Apart Homestead told me about that, and I tried it. And it works. It shrinks swelling. So if you drink blackberry root tea, it will help your body not get all swole up and then make itself a happy place for bacteria, because they love warm, wet, dark places to grow. Fresh squeezed lemonade, all those things. The herbals and the plant-based teas and things like that are helping you with the symptoms of that virus. Again, a virus, the only way you're stopping a virus is if you already have antibodies to fight that particular virus. And that's what a vaccine is. A vaccine is a small amount or dead cells from that virus introduced into your body in small amounts so that your system focuses in on it, pinpoints it, and creates things to attack it. And if you can get a vaccine before you have the disease, then when you get the disease, when you get coronavirus, your body would already have antibodies ready to attack it specifically. That's why there are vaccines. It's to fight things like the flu. You can't kill a virus with a antibiotic because an antibiotic is for bacteria. They're two different things. So when you're using these herbals, you're treating your symptoms. You are making it. It's like, how do you explain that? Say when you're coughing and your throat gets raw, those herbs are going to help your throat not feel raw, or may help quiet the cough. And the cough is really to get the mucus out of your throat, and it's keeping the fluids from getting down into your lungs. You're trying to avoid that, so you're trying to cough it up. And when you're sick and you're coughing like that, I think I talked about this before. I may not have been medically 100% of what I said, but I feel like it's better to spit what you cough up into a tissue and throw that away than to swallow it, because it is, whatever you're coughing up is got germs in it, so you don't really want that continuing to stay in your body. And something like Mucinex is working like the blackberry root would work. It is drying up the mucus, because the mucus is where the bacteria grows. Wow, that sun is really bright. There, it's a little bit better. The mucus is where the bacteria grows, and so you want to reduce that. And that's also what you're doing, like with the peppermints. It's you're opening up your bronchial tubes. You're allowing more air to get in, air exchange. And the air exchange is good for your organs, and it's good for your cells too, to get rid of byproduct stuff. There you go, long biology lesson. So they're all good. I guess the short answer to that would be it's all good. All the little, well, shoot, I bought what's it called now? Rose hips. I bought rose hips at a Mennonite store while I was down here. Rose hips are full of vitamin C. Rose hips tea would be one of the things you might drink to deal with this virus. All right, so does anyone have any questions or comments about what we've been talking about, or any other topic? I'm probably going to have to get off. I've been on almost an hour, and I'm kind of getting into parts of civilization, but I don't want to just abandon everybody since you've been so gracious to swing by this morning. Do you have updates? Do you have information for your area? Push fluids when you have a cough. Exactly. It really does help. Cold and hot fluids. Taking vitamins. Thanks, Biddy Boo. Three-month quarantine would be a good time to write a book. Learn how to play an instrument. Do some history research. Need spicy peppers to drain the boogers. Well, that's a safe travels. Shalom. Spices help. Spicy stuff helps. Crushed red pepper and all that stuff. It again opens up it makes your blood vessels open up, Draws a lot of blood into your gut, which helps you digest. Anybody else? You guys haven't been looking at the news or anything? Okay. All right, well, I'll get off. Thanks for swinging by. Another 45-minute live stream. Keep your eye on that virus and be ready if you have to be quarantined, if you have to take time off from work, if you have to suddenly become way more self-sufficient than you are. Think about the things you might need, think about how you would provide them, and be ready to help in your community, because this is a time when a pandemic comes through. It's a time when local stuff becomes way more important than the national stuff. Who cares what's happening in California if you're quarantining for the coronavirus in your town? And if you don't know your town very well, you might want to meet a few people right now. You might want to find out who your emergency preparedness person is. You might want to meet your fire chief, and if you have a hospital in your area, go in and meet some of the staff there, get a contact. Who's your pharmacist? What are the supplies like in your town? Those sort of things may become important in the near future. All right, bless you guys. Shalom. Oh, it's a bouncy one, isn't it? Moving the camera and bouncing all around.